Pressure gauge scales are a source of knowledge about the measuring device we are dealing with. Seemingly insignificant symbols can determine very important parameters. If we can read them, it can facilitate, for example, the ordering process and the selection of the right solution. Let's take a look at pressure gauge scales today and decipher the printed markings. The first and most important element of the scale is, of course, the scale. It is most often printed on a 270-degree arc, but in exceptional situations, this angle may vary and be, for example, 170 degrees or 180 degrees, leaving space on the dial for other markings or the customer's logo. The scale divisions indicate the specific value of the measured pressure. The most interesting elements of the scale are at its beginning and end. Most often, in the zero area, there is a so-called zero line, that is, a thick horizontal line perpendicular to the scale. It symbolizes the measurement error of the pressure gauge. It is assumed that if the pointer is at the zero line, the pressure gauge maintains its accuracy class. At the end of the scale, there may be a black triangle or no triangle. The absence of a black triangle means that the full range cannot be loaded. Pressure gauges without the possibility of loading the full range cannot operate continuously at a load above 75% of the full range. If such a pressure gauge is subjected to continuous loading at this level, irreversible deformation may occur in the measuring system. A black triangle indicates the permissible load of the full range. Most often, the pressure elements of pressure gauges with a permissible load of the full range of indications are made of stainless steel. The measuring unit is inextricably linked to the pressure gauge scale. It is printed on the scale. Without this marking, it would not be possible to determine the pressure value. It is worth paying attention to whether we use bars, megapascal, pound per square inch, kilopascal, or another unit during measurements. The pressure gauge dial always bears the marking of the accuracy class, which has already been mentioned today. The accuracy class of a pressure gauge determines the permissible deviation of the reading as a percentage of the full scale value. Most often, the center of the dial contains the construction standard, the standard used to manufacture the measuring instrument, and the material designation for all components that come into direct contact with the medium. Some pressure gauges also feature the symbol S. This is the designation for a safety version of the pressure gauge. No marking. Instrument without safety features. S1, device with vent plug. S2 or S, X-low plug in the housing. S3 or S, solid safety partition, e.g. model 232.30. The pressure gauge scale also shows the serial number, which is useful, for example, for calibration, which you can learn more about in our other video. In addition, we will find out who the manufacturer is and what the special features of the pressure gauge are. It may be an increased operating temperature, e.g. a marking of 200 degrees Celsius in Model 1, 11.22, a degrease design symbolized by a crossed-out oil can, or an ATEX designation for explosion hazardous areas. Some pressure gauges also feature symbols of the measuring system, like a Borden tube or a diaphragm element. In summary, every print on the scale is not accidental and is worth paying attention to. Very often, a photo of the dial helps a lot in choosing a pressure gauge. If you do not know how to read the markings on the pressure gauge dial and what pressure gauge to order, be sure to ask at Automatica24.pl.